Hello and welcome to Cooking with Unity. This is our 10th episode, and this is the first time that I'm broadcasting on Justin.tv. As you may note, if you've seen my previous episodes, I've now got much more resolution to work with, and hopefully you guys can still follow along, and it'll still look good. And hopefully my computer will get through the whole episode without any problems. This is going to be the first actual full run of an episode on Justin.tv, so bear with me if there's any technical issues. So, on the last episode of Cooking with Unity, we got a few little things added to our tower defense game. So, what we've got going on right now is we have an enemy. It paths along our little enemy path there. We have it shown where the path is, and you can click to place towers, and they shoot at the enemy. And they have a radius. It doesn't actually show it in the game, but you can actually see that they will stop firing once they get outside the range. Alright. So that's what we've got. Today, what we're going to do is, right now we just have one enemy. It doesn't spawn any more enemies. We're going to set up an enemy spawner. We're going to get that working, which may be difficult. I don't know. We'll find out in a few minutes here. And once we get that, maybe we'll get multiple enemy spawners so that you can have multiple paths for the enemies to go to. And the other thing I wanted to try and get done today is add a menu so that we can select multiple tower types. We may not get to programming a bunch of different tower types, but at least we can get a little menu going. So, here we go. So let's first start by looking at changing this up so that it's not just an enemy placed in the scene. So let's look at our basic enemy script. Okay, this isn't it. Hold on. Basic tower, no. Where are we? Path through objects. So this currently is attached to our basic enemy, and this actually determines how he's going to move. So if we create a spawner, we're going to need to get the information for the path to the enemy when it spawns, and that way we can use the enemies in any level that we want. And so let's see. I don't need to be doing that. So first of all, let's just create our enemy spawner. So we're going to just create actually an empty game object. So in the game object menu, choose Create Empty. And we're going to put it where our enemy is. So I'm just going to copy his info and put it in here. Oops. And the Z. 0 on Z. Alright. So we're going to call this enemy spawner. And what it's going to do is it's going to look very similar to our path through object script. So I'm going to open that up so we can look at it. And I'm going to also create a new script. This one will be called enemy spawner. So let's go over here and open enemy spawner as well. Alright, so what do we got? Path through objects here. Oh, we've got a lot of stuff in here. So most of this is just our little graphical toy here to actually visualize the path. And it makes more sense for this to actually be on the enemy spawner and not on the enemy itself, because we don't want to recreate these paths every time. We just want them to be laid down once. So I'm going to go ahead and actually cut this out of here. Throw it in enemy spawner. And so I just copied the whole create graphical path objects function. And I'm going to grab the create graphical path objects function in the start here and throw it in the start here. So hit save. Now, things that we need. We're going to need path points, so we're going to put that into our enemy spawner. We're going to need, we don't need speed, that'll be on a per enemy basis. We don't need goal size, I don't think. What is that for again? Do we use that anywhere? We don't. Okay, well, just going to comment that out because we're not even using it. And what else do we need from here? That may be it. Graphical path object. Actually, no, we need that over here. Put that in our enemy spawner. This is called refactoring. You're going to have to do it occasionally where you've done something one way and you need to reorganize it and do it a different way. It's very common. And obviously in big projects you don't want to have to do really big refactors at the end, which is part of the reason that in big projects things get kind of hacky towards the end. Because no matter what, you're going to need more features or you're going to need to fix bugs, and you might not have the opportunity to do so in the way that you really want to. And that's what sequels are for. I'm pro sequel. I know there's a lot of people who don't like sequels to games, but honestly, the second in most game series is the best just because the team has an engine to work with, and so they can focus on actually making the game rather than making the engine. Let's see. So we have this. We have create graphical path objects. So all this is going to do, okay, we're going to need a spawn list. So we're going to do public game object array spawn list. And this will be the list of enemies that is going to spawn. And public game float spawn time. That'll be the time between enemies. And what else? That will probably be most of it right there. So this now just focuses on actually moving the objects, and the path points will be given to this script via the enemy spawner script, and I'll show you how to do that. And there's a few different ways we can do it, but hopefully this will just work out nice and easy. So So let's add a function here for setting our path points. Void set path points, and it will just take a game object array path points, and all this will do is set oh wait, we don't want to call it path points. Input path points. Don't want it to have the same name as our pre-existing object, so path points equals input path points. This is something we're going to call in the enemy spawner function to actually set this information. And hopefully when we're done with this will all work really nice and smooth. Alright, so what this thing's going to do is it's really not going to have an update. Well, no, it is going to have an update. It's going to, spawn time. Alright, so we're going to find out if a time has elapsed. So actually, this will be easiest if we make a function called spawn. And we call it in an invoke, so we can actually set a delay on it and actually invoke repeating. So invoke repeating, we're going to do spawn. It's going to be spawn time and spawn time. This is the time it'll take before it does the first spawn. This is the time it'll take every spawn after. And what the spawn function is going to do is we're going to need, so it's going to, I'm going to write some notes here. Spawn next enemy in spawn list. And then we're going to set enemy path information. So first we're going to spawn the next enemy in the spawn list, so that's pretty easy. We need an index here though, I didn't save that, so let's do that real quick. Private int spawn index equals 0. So, excuse me. Alright, so we're going to spawn the next enemy in the spawn list, so we're going to instantiate, which honestly should have been called spawn. Actually, instantiate's a great name for it because it's not specific to creatures, but I use the terminology spawn a lot, so maybe I should just say instantiate. Well, spawn / instantiate. So instantiate, and we're going to instantiate spawn list dot spawn list spawn index. And we're not going to increment the index first, we're just going to see if this works first, but in the future we're going to increment this so that the next time we have something to work with. And we're going to need a reference to this so we can set up the path information. So game object reference equals instantiate as game object. And actually we want the position to be where our spawner is, so transform.position and quaternion.identity. So this should give us a enemy where our spawner is, and then the path information. So it should be the path points. Are we going to include? All right, we're going to assume that the spawner itself is the initial path. No, we'll just pass path points to it, and then we'll put spawner as the initial path point. So all we're going to do is call so reference dot send message, and it's called set path points. This is our little function we created earlier in quotes, and then we can send our path points to there. And is there anything this thing does? Okay, on start it does something. This may cause a problem, depending on if set path points happens before start does. I think it does, but let's find out. So now we got our new script. We're going to throw this on our enemy spawner. We're going to get rid of our basic enemy here. We're going to change our basic enemy to not have anything as path points so that we know that this is working. So enemy spawner, what do we have? Graphical path object, we want that to be path arrow. Spawn list, we're going to put our basic enemy. Now I don't have this totally hooked up just yet, so we're going to see how this actually works first. And then the path points we want to be the enemy spawner itself, waypoint 1, whoops. Again, so if you're editing a bunch of things, good to hit this little lock icon up here. When it's locked, it won't change. So you throw waypoint 1. See, I can click over here and it'll just stay the same over there. So if it's not changing, you want to unclick it as well. So unclick. Click it again, I guess. And then player base. So hopefully this will just work. Oh yeah, spawn time. Yeah, 0, why not? Let's just make it go crazy and see what happens. Well, it created a lot of enemies, but the enemies aren't moving. So let's find out what's going on here. So enemies. So let's just set this to like 100. No, 10. And we'll see what's going on. So in 10 seconds, we should see the first one show up. I'm going to change it so it just spawns the first one in immediately, but, man, 10 seconds is a long time when you're waiting for it. Why is this doing anything? Alright, so, oh god, it's creating a lot of them now. Why is it creating so many so quickly now? Alright, let's look at our script and see what we did wrong, or what I did wrong, rather. So, invoke, oh, it's an update. Yeah, we don't actually want that. We want it in start. Because we only want it to happen once. Well, we only want the invoke repeating command to happen once. We want the actual function to happen once every 10 seconds, in this case. And I should have changed this while I was in there to just spawn the first one immediately. Oh well. Okay, there we go. We have a dude. So, we have our basic enemy. And we want to unclick this. So, path through objects. It has the proper path, but it's not moving. I wonder why. Alright, let's see what it's doing. Maybe we don't need, yeah, we don't need the spawner position to start with. So let's fix that thing I was going to fix like 3 times. So we're just going to make this 0.0, well, just 0, so it'll be fine, I think. So now it'll spawn immediately. Come on. Alright. So, enemy spawner, we're going to get rid of the first element, and, oh, this is one of the little problems with the Unity, is kind of a pain in the butt to get everything reorganized, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal. And player base, and then we can just make the size 3, and let's see how this does. There we go. We got an enemy, it's moving along the path. And in 10 seconds, we should have another enemy. Yeah! Alright. That's awesome. So, what we want to actually do now is make it so that we can have multiple types of enemies. It's already kind of set up for this, it's just not using it. As we did here, we spawn based on the spawn index, but we don't actually change the spawn index. And so, I'm going to go ahead and change that right now. So, instantiate spawn list. Okay, so all we need to do is spawn index plus plus if spawn index is greater than spawn list dot length. I don't know why it's not auto-completing that again, but trust me, it's there. All arrays have that length thing. If it's greater than the spawn list dot length, actually greater than or equal to spawn list dot length, I'm just going to have it go back to 0 in this case. Well, it won't show off very well. I guess we'll cancel the invoke, because that's what we're actually going to do here. Cancel invoke. That'll make it so it won't keep spawning things anymore. So now if we hit play, we should get one enemy. Come on. And then nothing else afterwards. And then what we'll do is we'll put a few of these in the list so that you'll get more than one enemy. Alright, so that's working the way we want. So here we go. Let's add a few more basic enemies. If we had more enemy types, we could mix it up a little, and we will mix it up as soon as we have more enemy types. We'll be doing more of that in the next episode, I believe. Traditionally, we've been doing 3 episodes per game. I think this one warrants 1 more episode so that we can make it awesome. So this should spawn 8 of them. Let's make it spawn a little bit faster. Let's do 3 for the spawn time. So every 3 seconds it should spawn 1 until it's done. So you can put our towers in. Look, we've got kind of a tower defense game going on. Let's add more towers. Kill them all. Alright. There we go. So, that's awesome. So now we have a spawner. It works a little bit more like a tower defense game. We could have multiple spawners too. There's nothing stopping us from setting up a few. And they could have shared waypoints or different waypoints. I can actually show that off right now if you want. Let's go ahead and create a new enemy spawner. I'm just going to hit Command D and duplicate this. We're going to move it to another location, so down further in the Z. Doesn't need to be that far down. And then let's put a couple new waypoints in too. So I'm going to duplicate waypoint 1, call it waypoint 3. And we're going to move it to here. And then we'll have it go to waypoint 2 after that. So you can just see how this works. So we've got our second enemy spawner. We're going to change it to go to... Alright, so one of them we want waypoint 1, waypoint 2, and then the other one we want waypoint 3, waypoint 2, and player base. So there we go. So let's see if this works. It's probably going to double up our imagery. Yeah, technically it's doubling it, but there we go. We've got 2 paths, and they kind of merge into one. We got that chop there. We'll work around that in a bit. But you've got the basic idea here. So you could have as many spawners as you want, that you can share waypoints, they can be separate waypoints, and it all just kind of works right now, which is cool. We could put our tower here, and it'll start shooting at different enemies. So, let's do one more little quick graphical trick while we're doing this. I think it would be cool if the arrows were actually moving. So show the movement of the enemies, kind of like conveyor belts or something. So we can do that very easily by just animating the texture coordinates on it. So we're going to create a new script. We're going to call this, let's see, scroll texture. And let's open this up. And so what we're going to do is on start we're going to do renderer dot material dot main texture offset equals vector 3.0. This is just setting it to a basic value. the reason I'm doing that is because we're going to be doing this in a very simple way, which will actually degrade over time, and it'll degrade over multiple runs if you don't do that first. So what we're going to do is, this is a very simple function. So we're going to have a public x scroll rate equals 1.0f public public float x scroll rate, public float y scroll rate equals 1.0f. And all we do is, in our update loop, we create a new vector. Actually, this is vector 2, 0, I think. Vector.
Distance 0.4
Sorry, that's my phone being mean.
40.
Sorry about that. Alright. Vector 3. No, vector 2. New offset. This is the same thing we've done before a lot of times, but it's a vector 2 instead of a vector 3. A vector 2 is just a two-dimensional vector, which is all they use on textures. So, well, on two-dimensional textures. So, new offset equals render.material.main texture offset. New offset dot x plus equals x scroll rate times time dot delta time. And what this is doing is it's adding to the x offset based on our scroll rate that we set, and time dot delta time to make it so that it's time based. So what this 1.0f will mean in this case is it moves at 1 unit per second. And 1 unit in texture space is a whole scroll. So it scrolls one whole thing in a second. We may have to make it slower, but this will at least show off with the default values, which is what you want your default values to do. So plus equals at y scroll rate times time dot delta time. And finally we set render.material.main texture offset to be the new offset. And if we attach this script to our path arrow, it should just work. Oh, whoops. Yeah, scrolling both directions. We don't want to do that. So we attached it to our path arrow, but we want it to just have a Y scroll rate. We don't care about the X scroll rate. So let's see how this looks. Was working at least. Alright, closer. So it's scrolling in the wrong direction, which that's very easily remedied. All we have to do is set it to a negative value. So we can just do -1. And now we'll have little arrows that kind of show, yeah, there you go. It shows you the flow of the enemies. We could adjust it if we wanted them to move the exact same rate, but it's not going to matter for this. And I think that gives us a little bit more movement in the scene, and I like that. So cool. We have movement, we have the enemy spawning, and we're only 30 minutes in. What else were we going to do? We were going to do tower types and a tower selector. Alright. This will be interesting. So, let's see here. So we currently have detect clicks and touches. We have that attached to our camera, right? Yeah. Alright. So we're gonna make a UI. A very, very basic UI. Where to start? Let's start with creating a UI camera. So we're gonna create a new camera. Actually, let's save. Let's start with saving. Saving's a good thing. So The scene is now saved, and we're going to create a UI system. So we're going to create a new camera, so just create camera. I think it's in here. Yeah, camera. And doesn't matter how it's oriented. I'm just going to start at 0, 0, 0. Alright, so where can we put this that it won't be in our way? We're just going to make it way over to the left. Why does this have such a wide field of view? Whatever. I'm not worried about it. So we don't want it to see anything, so let's just move it to the left by... Oh, I see. That's why it has a wide field of view, because my camera has a wide field of view. Ah! Come on. Alright. So let's move this way over someplace we don't care about. So let's just put it 100 into the Z. And we're going to set its depth so that it renders first, or renders second. Larger depth is rendered on top of camera with the smaller, so depth will be 1. And if you hit F when you have an object selected, you'll focus on it in the scene. So here's our little camera. And what we're going to do, I'm going to rename this thing to UI camera. And we're going to put let's see, the tower has like logic on it. We're going to make a new version of the tower here. We're going to duplicate this, and we're going to call this tower UI. This will be our tower that we select. And this one we don't want to actually have the tower script on because it's just going to sit there. We probably will put a script on it to make it spin or something. I don't know. So we're just going to throw one of these on the UI camera. We're going to move it to a position which is meaningful. So let's look at our UI camera. Let's lock it and then go to tower UI and adjust this a little bit so that we can see it. So we're going to go across the left side of the screen for our interface. The one trick with this is it's very much based on your field of view and based on a few other factors. Actually, let's make this orthographic. Maybe that'll make more sense. So, because we're going to be putting it in the corner anyway. So orthographic. Can we not see the... Alright. Let's put this back at 0, 0. Unlock this so I can actually see what I'm adjusting. 0, 0. Go back to UI camera. Move this thing out. Whoops. Move the tower out. Huh. Oh, there we go. Size was just too big. Alright. So we want the size to be about, I don't know, 5, 4, 3. Let's do 3. And now we can move this thing over here. And it'll look just like a square. So now when we hit play, we should see this green square. Oh, we want to make sure that we are not clearing skybox. We want to just clear depth only. So this should, there we go. So there we've got our little dude there. Currently doesn't do anything, but gives us basically an idea of how this works. Let's actually change our camera, our main camera angle a little bit so that we have a UI area kind of. So here's our main camera. What do we got going on here? Let's actually move it to the left slightly. So -1, -2, -3. All right. And let's pull it, let's just start with that and see where we're at. It's going to cut off the right side of the screen a little bit. That's fine for right now. We'll adjust that later. Alright, so we've got that. Let's create a few more of these. So we're going to call this Tower 2 UI. We don't even have a second tower yet, but we're going to do that. And we're going to call this Tower 3 UI. Alright, so, there are two audio listeners in this scene. So we don't want our UI camera to have an audio listener. We can just remove that here. That'll get rid of that little warning. So now if we hit play, it shouldn't have any of those warnings anymore. Good deal. So all we're going to do is we're going to make our towers different colors. Let's do yellow and blue. So let's create a new material called blue and a new material called yellow. And then let's actually make them look like they're blue and yellow. Yellow, please. Do I already have a yellow? I already have a yellow. Okay, so what are we using yellow for? Whatever. Oh, we're using it for the balls, that's right. So blue, we want to be blue. And yellow's already yellow. And green's already... Okay, so we already got these. So let's just make Tower 2 yellow and Tower 3 blue. And then let's throw these into our UI camera real quick. Distance actually doesn't matter at all in the orthographic view, so just as long as they're in front of the camera to some degree. So orthographic, I should just explain this briefly. An orthographic camera doesn't have perspective. You'll see that it has this kind of cubic space. Normally when you select a camera, it has kind of a cone. Orthographic makes it so that it doesn't have a cone. It just sees things that are directly in front of it. If anything's further away, it does not get smaller or anything. They're really useful in 2D games. Most 2D games will use an orthographic projection, unless you're trying to get certain depth thing. No, I didn't mean to click that. I wanted to actually just do this. So we got our yellow. We just want these to be relatively the same position. So whatever, we'll just do here right now. Just eyeball it for right now. Alright, so there we go. Alright, so we have our little towers. So we need a way of selecting them and a way of seeing which one is selected so that we can place our different tower types. As I said, we're going to probably focus on making new tower types on the next episode. This one's just going to be getting ready. Oh yeah, we have that bug there that I said I was going to kick myself over. Let's fix that. These balls are currently colliding with our paths here. And the reason we set up a collider there is so that you can't actually click on the paths, so you can only create things near the paths. That's pretty standard MO for this type of tower defense game. So let's actually change that just a little bit so that it doesn't impact with our balls. So we have, what is it called? Path arrow. We're going to make this in a new layer. Hopefully. Add layer, please. Oh, it's locked. There you go. User layer. Ignore all but raycast. So hopefully this will just work when we do it this way. So we're going to go into our, so we're first going to set that, where is it, the path arrow. We're going to set this on the ignore all but raycast. And then we're going to go into the project settings, physics, and this will allow us to make it so that it doesn't collide with anything. So we want ignore all but raycast to not collide with anything. And it should still stop our raycast. So let's see if this works. So if I click here, okay, I can't click there. That's good. And I'm not seeing it colliding with the balls anymore, so that's good. All right. That's awesome. So, there we go. So, towers. We're going to need some logic on this. Alright. I'm not sure exactly how I want to organize this. Let's do it as a single script. I'm going to create a new script called Tower Selector. And we're going to put it on the UI camera for right now. Oh, it hasn't finished compilation. Let's actually make the script first. So, as this is loading, hopefully I'm still broadcasting. Actually, I should check on that just to see how things are going. Looks like it's still doing stuff. Dropped a frame at least. Alright. Dropped a few frames. So we're going back to Tower Selector. I honestly am very nervous about this episode just because I'm not sure how it's going to come out because of technical reasons. But hopefully everything's been working so far, so hopefully everything will work. So this will have our list of towers. So we'll need our public game object, UI towers. Actually, towers UI and public game object. This will be our actual towers. Towers. Yeah, let's do UI towers. So this will be our references to our little icons. Actually, yeah, let's actually call it that. Tower icons. I like that better because then I don't have to capitalize anything that doesn't mean anything to be capitalized. So, and then just towers. Yeah, towers will be fine. So, update. Alright. I'm not actually quite sure where I'm going with this. So we're going to click on the tower to select it. We're going to make the tower that's selected spin. That's how we'll determine which one's actually viewable. Alright, yeah, we're going to need another script for this too, but let's start with this. So, public, actually private, int selected tower. And we'll start this at 0. We're going to make the tower that is selected rotate. Let's actually make it a variable. So public float tower icon rotate rate equals 1.0f. So let's just get this so that we have a tower selecting right now. Private int selected tower equals 0. Why is that? Oh, no semicolon here. So update, we're going to just rotate. So tower icons dot selected tower dot transform dot rotate So what does this do? Axis and angle. So we'll do axis and angle. That'll make a lot of sense. So the axis is the vertical axis. So we're going to do vector 3.up. And the rotation is going to be tower icon rotate rate times time dot delta time. And if we did this right, we should see, oh, we'll see nothing actually because we didn't attach this to anything. So I'm just waiting on it right now, my computer. Alright. So we're going to throw this into UI camera here. It really doesn't have to be attached to anything in particular right now. And we need our tower icons, so I'm going to put all three: tower UI, tower 2 UI, and tower 3 UI. And I'm going to put at least tower 1 in here. So here we hit play, and we should see the green tower rotating. Okay, it's rotating. It's just rotating way too slowly. So I don't know if that angle is in radians or in degrees. So let's make it go. Let's set it to like 90 and see what happens. So tower rotate rate. Let's make it 90. What the hell is it? Yeah, that's much better. So now we have that selected, and that's a easy way to tell that something's selected. So now what we need is the ability to select the other towers. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach, first of all, we've got this detect clicks and touches, and we have one set up on the main camera here. And because of the way I set this up, it's not going to make total sense. I'm going to make another one on this UI camera, and we're going to actually set it to this UI camera. We may change that script later so that it just assumes that it needs to be on the camera that it's affected by. So what this will mean is if we click on these things, we should actually get click events now. We won't actually see it unless we click on debug. Actually, let's do that just to make sure. So we're on debug now. We click this. Alright, we didn't get anything. Not a good sign. Oh, yeah. These things need to have colliders to actually work like that. So let's actually do that on the basics here. So component, physics, box collider. Wait, it already has a box collider? It does have a box collider. Wait, why are they not enabled? Or is it always like that? No? For some reason they weren't enabled. Oh, probably because we duplicated this and okay, we had disabled the collider on that. Alright, that makes sense. So we're going to hit play one more time. And hopefully we'll get some console action here when we click on these now. You click Tower UI, alright. You click Tower 2 UI, Tower 3 UI, so that's working. that's the reason we have the debug thing, so that it's very easy to check if the clicking thing's working. So we're going to need another script for these objects for when they're clicked. So C# script. We're going to create a new one. It's going to be called Select Tower on Clicked. And so here we go. We're just going to go in here. And we don't need to have the position that's clicked on this time. And luckily we don't, because we're using send message, it doesn't matter. We can actually just not reference that variable. Like if we look at, where is it? Our other clicking thing here, create tower on clicked. We have this clicked vector3 position. We care about the position in this case. In this case, we just want to know if which object was clicked. So we can just ignore that. We can just do clicked with no information in there, and this should still work because of the magic of send message. So let's see, void clicked. What are we doing? So we need to tell the tower selector to change the selected tower. So what we're going to do is we'll just make up a function name right now, and then we'll fill it in on the other side. We will need public game object tower selector. And so tower selector dot send message select tower actually let's call it set selected tower, and we're going to send it let's send it itself. Let's make this fancy. We'll have it send our game object. And then on the tower selector, we need to write this function. So void set selected tower. Game object tower selected tower. And we're almost at the end here, so this will probably be our last thing. Hopefully we can get it working. So what we're going to do is for each game object tower in tower icons. Tower icon. If selected tower equals tower icon, int index if selected tower equals tower icon, selected tower equals index, and then after this, no matter what, we do index plus. And if it doesn't get anything, we'll just not do anything. So hopefully this will work. So what this is doing is comparing the tower that we sent in from the select tower on clicked, which is just itself, which this is going to be getting the UI towers, right? So we're comparing it to our list of tower icons. If they're the same object, we set them to this index. If not, we increase the index and go through again. So let's see if this just worked right away. I'll be very happy, actually. Oh, compiler error. Oh, got to set a default value, so index equals 0. Probably going to have one more. Here we go. Cannot implicitly convert int. Wait, what? Selected tower to Unity Engine game object. Oh, I have a repeated name here. So, sorry. Input tower. If input tower, now this should work. What was happening before was I was having a name conflict between the internal variable and the input variable. So here we go. We hit run, click here, and it did nothing. Click here, does nothing. Nothing does anything. Alright, let's see what's going wrong. Let's debug.log input tower. We're just going to see if it actually gets in here. It probably does. I think my equality statement doesn't actually work the way I want it to. Let's find out though. So I click here. Nope, that's not the problem. It's happening earlier than that. Oh, duh. All right. Let's keep that in there just for right now. We didn't actually attach this select tower on click script to anything, and we need to attach it to all three of these. So tower, tower 2, tower UI. We're going to go components, scripts, select tower on clicked. And hopefully that'll propagate to our little inspectors here as well. I set them on the... okay, so there we go. And then we actually want to change it so that all three of these... oh, yeah. So these three we want to actually connect to the UI camera, which is our tower selector. It's what has the tower selector script at least. How come I can't... does that not count as a game object for some reason? There we go. Oh, yeah. That's right. It's because... yeah. It's because the prefabs can't reference to something that only exists in Scene. It can only reference other prefabs, and we haven't created a prefab for the UI camera. Just don't worry about it for now. We're just going to change it on the instantiated versions here. And hopefully this will just work this time. So we click it. It totally worked. Look at that. Should probably reset their rotation, but at least we have a selector here, and it's selecting. It doesn't do anything. We still create the green towers here when we create them, no matter what's selected. But we have a menu. It's as basic as it kind of gets, but it's there. So anyway, that's a good stopping point for tonight. Thank you for joining me on Justin.tv now. Hopefully this all recorded just fine. And I will see you back here next week if all went well with this. So I'll have this project up and have the link in the description of the video once I've got that finalized. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, criticisms, anything else that starts with a C, go ahead and contact me. I'm going to give you my contact info here. It's amazing how slow my computer is sometimes. Pushy Pixels at pushypixels.com. Actually, I've got a new address too, max at cookingwithunity.com. On Twitter, Dragfire works. Let me make this bigger. Got shortcuts for that, don't I? Come on, computer. Come on, just 3 more seconds here. Come on. It's amazing how much bigger I have to make things now that my resolution's higher. So contact me here, any of these places, and let me know what you thought. And thank you very much. Good night.